Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I think the LA Clippers are going to win the NBA title this season. Now, typically, I don't do videos like this just because the championship chase has not been all that interesting over the last couple years with the KD era Warriors. 2 years ago, I did make a video like this saying that the Rockets were going to win the championship, and obviously that didn't go well. But in today's video, I'm just going to be making my case why I think they are the best team in the league and will end up winning the title this year. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy the NBA, then consider subscribing. I upload every single day. All right, so I feel like this is a video that I need to make because it seems like in every other video I talk about the fact that I think the Clippers are the title favorites and they are the best team in the league, but I've never really explicitly explained why. So in this one, this is my actual championship pick, but in other videos I might do other teams and make the case for why they will win the NBA championship. So getting back to the Clippers, the first thing that strikes me about this team is I think that they are simply the deepest and arguably most talented team in the entire league, with the caveat that comes with every single point that I'm going to make in this video: when healthy. When healthy, they have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, two borderline top 10 players, depending on your opinion of Paul George, and Kawhi is one of the best players in the entire league, certainly two of the better two-way players in the entire league, and they have role players such as Landry Shamet, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. They have other guys that can make plays on and off the ball that are two-way players. They have depth at every single position, even more so now post-trade deadline with Marcus Morris on the roster. They've brought in Reggie Jackson as another guard in the rotation. They have every single piece you could possibly need on a basketball team in the modern NBA, even guys like Patrick Beverley. I completely forgot to mention him because they have so many players on this roster that provide them such great depth. So apart from having a really good playmaking point guard, which I don't think is all that necessary on this roster given everything else that they have, I don't think that there's any one piece that they're truly missing other than like a true point guard, because Lou Will can make some plays and is a smaller guard, or like a true lockdown defensive center. I don't really know what else you could possibly want on this roster. And going along with that depth is the ability of this team to match up against any team in the Western Conference, because I don't necessarily think that's the case with a lot of teams in the West. I think there are a lot of teams that play one specific style, or they have one thing that really works well for them, and they don't really have a plan B, whereas I feel like the Clippers have a plan B, C, and D, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be more successful, because if a team's plan A is better than another team's plan A, then it doesn't matter. But I just feel like the Clippers have different ways that they can win and different ways that they can play against certain teams. For example, I do think that there are teams in the postseason that could struggle to deal with the Houston Rockets' extreme small ball, right? Not even having a true five on the floor, so much floor spacing, having Russell Westbrook and James Harden initiating all the offense, Russ getting to the rim, having all these shooters. I do think that there are some teams that defensively could have some issues with that. Teams like Utah, are they going to keep Rudy Gobert on the floor? Are they going to try and figure out a way to keep him on the floor and not maybe play against some of Houston's better lineups? What are they going to do against that smaller group? Even a team like Denver that has a couple of bigs that they can throw out there, but you don't really know how they'd match up. I don't think that particular matchup is an issue at all for the Clippers with the variety of wings that they have, whether it's Marcus Morris, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Landry Shamet, Patrick Beverley. Like, you could put that lineup out there and be completely fine against the Rockets. Now, you go the other way, and what if a team wants to, have a really big lineup out there and they have, Anthony Davis and JaVale McGee and LeBron and Kyle Kuzma and a guard? Well, the Clippers have the ability to match up with that as well, with Zubac Harrell at the 5 and then all of the wings and bigger guards that I talked about earlier. And I think that's so critical in this postseason, because I do think that there are a lot of different teams that present different matchups. And I think the Clippers are one of the few teams in the entire league that are pretty much immune to an inability to deal with the different matchups, and I don't really care who they get matched up with in the first couple of rounds of the playoffs. My one concern, I have multiple concerns, but my primary concern here is I do hope that they get the 2 seed. Partially because I'm selfish and I want the two LA teams to play in a conference final series, which I'll get to a little bit later, and I don't want them to run into each other in the semifinals, but also just so that they're fresher in terms of helping their case to win the championship. And I know I'm talking mostly about the Western Conference here. I will get to their potential finals matchups as well. My other concern, other than the seeding potentially and them not getting the 2 seed, is their inability to potentially play against a really bruising big man, right? Not necessarily a super skilled big man, but someone that is just provides an issue simply because of their size. And that could present a problem with Rudy Gobert potentially. And then you go to the more skilled guys like Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, potentially in the finals having to deal with Joel Embiid or Giannis. If he's there, you could even count him as a big. I do think that is one of their main defensive issues, right? Is how are they going to deal with those kinds of guys? Now, I'm not too worried about Gobert on the offensive end. Yes, on the glass and garbage points in the paint could be an issue, but I'm not worried about them throwing the ball to Rudy Gobert, posting him up 40 times a game. And if they do that, I think that still works out well for the Clippers. I do worry a little bit about Jokic, but again, I don't know that they're going to feed him the ball in the post. Even if it's working really, really well, I just don't think that that's how their team is made up. They want to move the ball, and he will move the ball out of the post, but that's not a huge issue. They're more worried about a scoring big in the post. And then you get to the Lakers, which is what a lot of this conversation is going to be about in terms of the Clippers potentially getting to the finals and winning the championship. Anthony Davis is an issue for any team in the NBA. He is incredible on both ends of the floor. But I think the Clippers have shown an ability to potentially have some kind of matchup for him, whether it's Paul George or Kawhi, or now having Marcus Morris, and still having another guy to deal with LeBron, because that's what you have to deal with against the Lakers is, withstanding the wave and withstanding how good they are when both LeBron and AD are on the floor, and then you can make your move when one of those two guys is off or when they're both off, very rarely in the postseason. You have to be able to at least tread water while LeBron and AD are on the floor, and I think the Clippers can absolutely do that in a postseason series. So from a defensive standpoint and from a matchup standpoint, I feel like they're pretty solid in the Western Conference. They've had some issues with Anthony Davis, but every time they play the Lakers, they win. Granted, the sample size isn't very big. I'm not really concerned about someone feeding Nikola Jokic the ball 100 times a game and him just scoring continually out of the post. He's good in there. I just don't think that that's the way that the Nuggets are made up. And then, like I said, Rudy Gobert with the Jazz doesn't necessarily scare me too much. And then the Rockets small ball stuff I've talked about as well. Once they get to the finals, if for some reason the Sixers are there waiting for them, that would be the team I would honestly be most nervous about, other than Milwaukee, just because Embiid, if he's healthy, could destroy them in the paint because they don't have the requisite size to deal with him. But on the other hand, then you've got Giannis, who also can be a huge issue. So getting to the finals, I don't know that the big man matchup thing is going to be a huge deal, but once they get there, if one of those two teams is there, I think that could definitely cause them some issues. However, and this is kind of my main point with this Clippers team, and it's not just that they're deep, it's not just that they're talented, it's not just that they have all these other matchup things that they have going for them. It's the fact that Kawhi Leonard's on the roster. And until proven otherwise, based off how good he was in the postseason last year, this guy is the best playoff closer in the entire league until proven otherwise. When you need a bucket at the end of a game, or when you need someone to have a big fourth quarter, or you just need something out of somebody, Kawhi Leonard was there every step of the way for the Raptors last year, and I have no reason to doubt that he will do the exact same thing for the Clippers this year on a roster that, in my opinion, is simply a better roster than what Toronto brought to the finals last year. Now, maybe you could argue that the Western Conference as a whole is tougher than it was last year, even though you don't have the KD-era Warriors. You do have a lot of teams that are really good, most specifically LeBron and AD, and then all those other teams that have been there for the last couple of years. So you can't just say, oh, they're more talented than the Raptors were last year, and they have Kawhi, and they have Paul George, and just by being better, they're going to win the title. I see that argument, and maybe you could argue that the Bucks are better. I'm just saying that there's no reason for me to believe that Kawhi Leonard is going to be any worse this postseason than he was last postseason, because he was just so incredible and such a great closer, right? And that is the main thing that I have in my notes. Best postseason closer until proven otherwise is Kawhi Leonard. And that is the main thing that gives me confidence in saying that if they have all their players and if they're healthy, this is the title team this year. Now, things can certainly change. Someone can get hurt, or someone can start to have some crazy run in the postseason, and LeBron and AD could simply be too much in a 7-game series. And like I said, I definitely have concerns, right? The matchup with the bigs is not ideal. The health is not ideal. And if it does come down to a conference finals series against the Lakers, they're basically not going to have a home game in any game in that series. Like, they're not going to have to leave LA, which is going to be nice, but they're not going to have like a true home crowd in any of those games. At least I don't think, based off the matchups that they've had at this point. It's still a Lakers town. It's always going to be a Lakers town. And that is going to be a concern, is are they going to be able to win 4 essentially road games? I don't know. That would be tough in a postseason series. But those are my main concerns. But I think the Kawhi factor and the talent factor and the depth and their ability to match up with these teams washes all that away. And there are other teams that I have way more concerns about than I do about the Clippers. In my opinion, if they can get out of the Western Conference, their main competition is, of course, going to be Milwaukee and how they're going to deal with Giannis Antetokounmpo in the finals. But that is a team that, in my opinion, relies a lot more on shot making for their success, as a lot of teams do in the NBA, than this Clippers team does. And I feel like they're a little bit better built for the playoffs because they can get shots other than just Giannis driving and kicking it out for threes. That's a very successful formula, and they do get offense in other ways. But the Clippers have an ability to score in one-on-one situations and isolation situations. Not that Giannis can't, but more consistently. They have Lou Will. They have all kinds of offense as long as they can press the right buttons at the right time. I believe in their ability to score in the postseason a little bit more than I believe in Milwaukee's ability to score in the postseason when things get tough. Like Milwaukee can rain down a ton of threes all the time, but when they really need a bucket, 4 minutes left in the finals, game 7, is Giannis going to be the guy that's going to be able to make a one-on-one move and do something other than just get to the basket and get a bucket? I don't know. If he does and if he can, then more credit to him. But I believe more in Kawhi and Paul George in that setting than I do in Giannis at the moment. So that's my case for why the Clippers are going to win the NBA title this year. And there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.